And now on the line is Gwen Harris, the North Dublin County Regional Manager of MABS. Gwen, welcome to the programme.
Thanks very much, Darren. Thanks for having me on.
Hey Gwen, as this is my first interview with you, can you start off by telling me a bit more about MABS and the sort of services that you provide? It's a very interesting and useful service you have, I believe.
Yes, absolutely. So MABS is, well, we're around now at this stage since the early 90s, and we are the money advice and budgeting service. That's what the MABS stands for. And what we do is we deal with anybody, or we meet with anybody usually, who are either in difficulty with bills or with debts or with mortgages, or for people who feel that they're going to get into difficulty down the road. It doesn't have to be people who are currently in debt. And what we do is we will work out budgets with people as they need. So we look at what's coming into the household and what's going out. We talk them through some maybe tips if they need on how to save. And probably a bigger part of our work is that we would help negotiate, or we would represent people to their creditors. You know, so if I owed you money, Darren, and I come to MABS might write to you and say, Gwen can't afford to pay you her full payment. Here's a payment arrangement. Can you accept it? And we do a middleman kind of negotiation for people who may be afraid to contact their creditor and say that they can't afford to pay what they're supposed to pay.
Okay, the reason we're doing this interview today is in particular about the coronavirus and how it's impacting on your services. But before we get to that, I just have one or two other questions about your work in general.
Sure.
You said there about creditors being kind of the middleman going to creditors.
Mm-hmm.
Do you deal much with people who are dealing with money lenders? Like those,
Okay.
you know those kind of illegal people. Well, I don't know if they're all illegal, but go on anyway, yeah.
Okay, so if we might distinguish them, you mentioned legal. There are two money lending. If you hear about it in general, there's two types. There are the regulated money lending industry, who are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland in the same way that the credit unions and the banks are regulated. And then there is the not regulated and unregistered people who might lend in the illegal fashion. So, well, we do negotiate. We have contact with the regulated money lending industry. With anything that is unregistered or unregulated, we wouldn't have contact. But we do support households who are struggling and who may have taken on an unregistered lending. So we would help support them in other ways.
There has been go on, yeah.
I was just to say, does that answer, does it clarify maybe the difference between money lending? Yeah, okay.
I heard I've heard before that I believe there's been a big increase in the number of illegal or non-registered money lenders in Ireland. Is that true?
Well, certainly MABS, we haven't seen that. Like we haven't been told of any increased activity. You would I suppose it's not difficult to assume that at times like this that maybe people would be out who are not registered and who are kind of preying on people who have no other option or feel that they have no other option. But we don't have any up-to-date information as to whether there is any increase.
Okay, and can you tell me how is the coronavirus situation affecting people financially and your services?
So at the moment, what I would like to really kind of get out there as a strong message today is that the MAB services are still open for business. Now, we're doing our business in a little bit of a different way. We're not allowed face-to-face meetings with people, which would be our traditional services, a face-to-face meeting and an interview kind of basis. But at the moment, we are providing our services and the money advice process. We are providing it by phone and in some cases by email, but in general by phone with people. And it seems to be working quite well. We can send things out to people in the post if they don't have printers at home themselves. So we're still open for business. It is different times for people. We're expecting to meet people that we may have never met before, expecting to meet people who have never been unemployed before. So maybe very scared and don't know the social welfare entitlements, don't know how to maybe do a budget, and who've never had to contact their creditors before to say that they're in difficulty. So we are expecting with this particular with the crisis that is happening in Ireland, or maybe not to use the word crisis, but with the situation that is involving for us, we are really meeting new people.
And you have seen an increase in the demand for your services recently, have you?
Where this would be something that actually people might be more not contacting MABS yet because they're trying to get their income sorted. So if you've lost your job today, your first
Okay.
thing might be to contact the citizens information or your social welfare because you're trying to get an income, get food on the table, and that's people's priority absolutely at the moment. You may have seen some different pieces of news, different headlines that came out with say that there's going to be no disconnections until after the 19th of April, and that there's so from light and heat, people wouldn't be disconnected until after that stage. And the courts are closed, so it does mean that there's no repossessions possible. And then the government has announced that the payment break for mortgages and that evictions would not happen for people in private rented. All those announcements absolutely are protecting people in a very, very uncertain time. But what we would want to encourage people is to maybe look at addressing their debts or their new financial situation now, rather than waiting until disconnections are happening again or until the courts are back open. And that we would really encourage people to contact us now if they have lost their job or if they have lost an income or reduced income, or indeed if they have extra expenses because they're homeschooling children at the moment or they're working from home and they have the same income coming in, but they're going to have larger bills. So that we would really encourage people to think about contacting us as early as they can if they feel that they're going to be in difficulty. They don't have to wait until they're having difficulty with a bill. Contact us early.
And when you say there's not going to be disconnections, the government have said that. What do you mean, like disconnections from what, like?
So with the gas and
Oh
electricity,
yeah, okay, okay.
there has been there's been an agreement that there'd be no disconnections until after the 19th of April at the moment, which is the week after the current phase of our isolation or distancing.
You mentioned their electricity and gas or heating. Um, there are a couple of different government payments, new payments that we have with the COVID-19 situation at the moment, don't we? As regards rent and mortgage, I think, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a new payment at the moment, which is a simplified process as well. And the only reasons the processes have changed is to speed it up to get people a payment as quick as we can. So it's called a COVID-19 payment, and it could be a short-term payment. So if people might be just out of work or not being let go from their job, not being, they're not going to be unemployed, but they're not being paid by their job. That could be, they could make an application. Or for people who have actually lost their job during the downturn. And it is, if I don't want people to be thinking that they have to try and write things down, but if they just had a phone or Google or anything and they just look up COVID-19 payment, illness payment, or support payment, they would find a few different reputable government websites that will have all the information. So at the moment, it is €350 per week for people who have, who qualify and are eligible for the unemployment payment. This week, there was people may be anxious that they saw that 15,000 applications were not processed this week, but they may have been that people had put in not all their bank details or not all the correct bank details, or their PPS might have been a little wrong. So it's not that people were rejected, it's just that there was further information needed. And the easiest way for anybody at the moment, if they have access to the internet, the easiest way to make the application is to do it online. It's a short, simplified, one-page process. As I said, it's a short-term measure to get people an emergency payment as quick as we can, and the easiest and the quickest way is online.
Does that payment include rent and mortgage protections, or is they separate, or what?
That's a separate payment. That's an individual payment.
Okay.
The rent there's no financial payment for a mortgage, but what there is an agreement on a 3-month payment break if people found themselves in a situation of unemployment, and each bank would have different contacts for that, and I believe that they're sending it out to people in the post in letters at the moment with the contact details if you feel you're in trouble or you're going to be in trouble. The rent is a little different. If you are HAP, the housing assistance payments, you would contact your local authority and tell them that you've lost your job or that you're on reduced income. They would recalculate your rent, your differential rent. It wouldn't affect your landlord because they still get the same payment and support. So, but the main efforts is that there'll be no evictions during the period. There's a stay on evictions and there's a stay on repossessions as well at the moment. But there's no financial assistance towards the mortgage, just to clear that.
Okay, Gwen, to come towards the end of the interview, I think you may have answered this question already. Do you have a basic message in general to our listeners about your service and taking in mind the coronavirus situation at the moment?
Yeah, I suppose I would say to people, if I could say anything to people, it would be, you're not alone. We are all in this together, and I know that's a cliche at the moment and it's a hashtag all the time, but it is true. It's very often we find that people living in debt or people worried about bills feel alone and feel ashamed and feel like they have nobody to talk to. But certainly at the moment, anybody who feels they're struggling now or feels like they will be struggling won't be alone. If they mentioned it to anybody, people would really understand. So, and then the other thing I might say is that if people could contact us, if they don't feel able to contact their creditors, to look at their budget and we can help them. We have a lot of self-help tools on our website, really good budgeting tools, information tools, and we keep our website up to date with all the relevant changes as new payments come online and new schemes. And our website is www.mabs.ie. And then there's also the Citizens Information Service, which is our delivery partner, and they keep up to date information on, again, all the payment schemes. And then for MABS nationally, we have a phone service. So people can contact our MABS National Helpline anytime from 9 o'clock in the morning till 8 in the evening. And the number for that is 0761 07 2000. It sounds like a strange number, but it's 0761 07 2000.